At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Business owners wear many hats, but mailing and shipping expert shouldn't have to be one of them. Hi, I'm Al Coe, CEO of Stamps.com. We've helped over 4 million customers print postage, manage tracking, and schedule free carrier pickups so they don't have to leave the office. Stamps.com is committed to delivering the best solutions and rates all on one platform so you don't waste your valuable time. Go to Stamps.com to sign up for a special offer.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
If you love entertainment, current events, and Hollywood, don't miss Creator to Creators, hosted by the filmmaker Meosha, known for the Shudder hit documentary Horror Noir and the acclaimed film Anatomy of an Anti-Hero, Redemption. This show features interviews with filmmakers and creatives from around the globe. Join the fun with guest celebrities and gain valuable insights. Subscribe now and follow Creator to Creators.
Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators today. Today we have a special guest.
Oh, that would be me, Jay Washington.
Welcome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I've always wanted to like when I met you, I definitely wanted to get you on the pod. Like I thought in my head, I'm like, I just would love to just have him on because I think you're so funny.
Thank you.
We were all laughing in knots. It was a great time.
That means a lot. I appreciate it very much.
Definitely. I love going back to the beginning. I always say that the beginning of our childhood kind of charts our trajectory in life, like
Mhm.
where we're going, like our little small habits as we pick up along the way, kind of follow us into our adulthood. So tell me a little bit about your childhood. What was that like? And then how did you kind of find your way into doing the things you're doing now?
So for me, I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I'm a product of a single mom. My father passed when I was 4. And so my
Hmm.
mom ended up raising my younger brother and myself. And that was with the help of my grandmother, my grandfather on my other side. And so things were kind of tight. My mother was because it was very rough in Chicago in the late 80s, early 90s. And so I say all that to say I got into a lot of comic books and nerdy stuff, a lot of the stuff you see behind me, for those who can see it visually. And I always just like that. Now, in school, I was always this person who just had this personality. I was always this dude who just naturally cracked jokes. That was just me. It's just what I did. And so I never, I was always just trying to make light of different situations because I'd been through so much. I was burned when I was 2.
Mm.
So I pulled boiling water off the stove on my head and my shoulder. And that led to me being teased so much that my defense mechanism was cracking jokes on people back. But I would just go really, really far.
Yeah.
But also in that process, learned to love professional wrestling. And so all these little things started happening in my life, and I never really knew at that time that they all would play a major part. So being this nerd, being this person who cracked jokes, being this kid who loved wrestling, who was wrestling with his friends in the front yard of his grandmother's house almost every day
Oh,
and getting in trouble, like the whole neighborhood kids, we would have our own wrestling matches and stuff like that.
I love
And
it.
so all of these different things started to be the building blocks to who I would become now.
Mm, I love that. I love that. I love that that I guess it's so interesting. The things that we go through, sometimes they're not so pretty. but
Right.
they somehow play a part, like you said, in our lives later. It's like, wow. So you kind of appreciate those, I guess, not so pretty moments in
I
life.
mean, and yeah, when you look in hindsight, of course you do, because it's that question people always ask. If you could go back in time, what would you change in your life?
Mhm.
And I've been asked that a lot of times in a lot of different forms, and every time I have to answer the same way is I don't think I'd change a thing.
Wow.
Because if I did, then I wouldn't be who I am now.
Right. Right.
Every little moment, whether it be good or bad, happy or sad, whether it be overjoyous or traumatic, has helped to mold and shape the person in which I am today,
Mhm.
the personality that I am today, And so all of these different things, yeah, they all are, they're important, they're necessary. A lot
Yeah.
of us want to, like, again, we all have our unfortunate traumatic experiences.
Mhm.
For me, it was being burned, it was losing my dad. It was just different things I've been through in life, but they all lent themselves to building up who I am today.
Right. Absolutely. And you're an amazing person. Like, seriously, all the things that you do. I mean, first of all, wrestling. How did you get into that? Did you do it professionally at all?
So you can say I was a professional wrestler it's the independent circuit. So I wasn't directly on TV every week like a
Yeah.
lot of my friends are currently, but I did these smaller circuit venues where you're traveling the roads all weekend, and you're doing from gymnasiums, rec centers, festivals, outdoors, all this stuff. So I was like I said earlier, I was a fan of wrestling as a kid, and so we would always wrestle in the front lawn and stuff. And one of my friends, who is still one of my great friends to this day, I remember he joined a company called Windy City Pro Wrestling. And he was like, yo, you should come join. It's like, yo, we get to live out being wrestlers. And I was like, this sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So I go down there and I meet with the promoter, Sam DeCero. And Sam, was like, man, if you want to start right now, it's only $2,500. I was like, I only won't be doing this because I don't have $2,500.
Right.
So he
Right.
was like, "Oh, don't worry about that. Look, we got a deal. If you can put 500 down, then it'll be only $2,000." I was like, "I don't know what makes you think if don't have 2,500, I got 500." And so I thought then my goal, my dreams of wrestling in a sense would be gone. And then like a couple of months later, my friend, he left that company and went to another company that started up, and they were charging just $40 a month to train to learn how to be a pro
Wow.
wrestler. I was like, that's up my alley.
Yeah.
And that was 24 years ago.
Wow.
And you train, you learn the techniques, you learn how to run the ropes, you learn all the different things, and in the process you meet some amazing people,
Yeah.
and many of which I still am friends with to this day.
Oh, I
A
love
lot
it.
of them are still lifelong friends, and like I always say, I have friends who have been or are currently in the WWE, who are in AEW, who are in TNA, who are in all these major companies. And to me, sometimes I watch them and I'm like, man, I'm jealous of what y'all doing. And they're like, bro, you got out.
Ever get the feeling you're being watched online? It's Data Brokers. They collect your personal info, your browsing habits, where you live, and who you're related to, and then sell it to the highest bidder. Aura helps stop that. Aura automatically removes your personal info from data broker sites and keeps it off. It also monitors the dark web, protects your devices, alerts you to real-time threats, and more. Start your free trial at aura.com/listen. That's AURA.com/listen for your free trial.
Good. It's like you get to do all this, you get to tell jokes and be in movies. I'm like, yeah, but y'all are millionaires. There's a difference. You know, you can think my life looks glamorous, but y'all are millionaires. And so, but you meet so many amazing people, man. And I met so many dope people,
That's awesome.
and so many people who have influenced my life and who've been a part of my life through thick and thin for the past 20 something odd years.
Wow. I love that. I love that's like a family. Um, do you like so my dad is huge in wrestling. He loves it. My
Mhm.
father is obsessed. He loves the WWE. He loves like, the smaller ones that are not,
Mhm.
yes, the major leagues or whatever, but
Yeah.
they're still on television. And there's some really good fighters I've seen. I'm like, wow.
Mhm.
Do you feel like women wrestlers get the, I guess, the push they need as far as like
I
that?
feel like now, within the past 7, 8 years, maybe a little bit more, they finally started getting the respect they deserve.
Mm,
I watched, for years there were women wrestlers, but then there became this era where Vince McMahon coined the divas, and it
mhm,
was all just pretty girls in the ring, and they didn't really do much as far as pro wrestling goes.
mhm.
But then you still had some women who wanted to break out of that, who were like, "No, I can be pretty, but I can kick ass too." And
Right.
you've had this resurgence where there are some women who I watch work and they are better than some of the guys.
Wow.
And now a lot of people it used to be a women's match on TV would only get 3 to 5 minutes.
Wow.
Like now they're main eventing TV and main eventing premium live events and major events, and they're being put on the pedestal just as much as the guys are, and it's well deserved.
I love that. I love that. Hey, they're making waves over there. They need to take that to the film industry.
Oh man,
Hey,
listen,
when
don't get me started on that industry because as an actor as well, you see all the different things that go on in the industry. You see how when there is a push to try to make things level or even playing field, if you will, how once there's a push to do that, there's a pushback to stop it. Like, why we got to do all this? And you're like, because look what's been the normal for God knows how long.
Mhm.
There are things for everybody to be represented and seen. And when you start, it's amazing to me that when you start seeing representation from various races, cultures, genders, etc., there's all of a sudden a pushback, like, this is too much. I always use this analogy. It's like a dam, right?
Mhm.
And water that's hitting this dam, and this water has force, and it's
Yeah.
been trying to go this one way for the longest, but the dam has kept stopping it. So all that can happen is this water keeps pushing up against and pushing and break and pushing and building up force till once it breaks it, it overflows. So now you're getting a wave of this that you didn't expect. And the
Yeah.
thing is, you would have never had that if you'd have let the flow happen naturally.
Mm.
If you'd have let it happen naturally,
Mhm.
because it's always been there. And so we're seeing that a lot in TV and film, which is like now you're seeing the pushback of all these shows on streaming getting canceled.
Yeah.
All these streamers want to be like, oh, we're going to make all this content and all these shows, and no one cared.
Right.
And
Right.
now you're like, oh, well, I guess no one wants to watch anything with this type of person, that type of person. Let's just go back to the normal. It's like, no, you just don't get it. So I do wish a lot. It's amazing that certain things have to take the lead
Yeah.
to show what can be done.
Mhm.
And in many instances, if pro wrestling is that, then I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
I think all these industries need to show that, look, there's been one monochromatic baseline for so long. And that monochromatic baseline is not indicative of audiences as a whole.
Mhm.
And that's me trying to sound as professional and polite as I can about it without being really how my feelings are.
Yeah.
But it's just the truth. There are so many, when you see movies with women leads and all of a sudden it's like, don't nobody want to see that. No, you don't want to see that. But there are many people who do.
Right. Yeah.
I tell people, why do you think Barbie made $1 billion?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And that leads me to my question of comedy. You're in an industry that, yes, you get to travel, meet a lot of people, you get to tell jokes, be funny. But I also
mhm.
feel like there's another side to that of like your freedom of speech. People can't say certain things anymore without getting offended. It's like, how do you find the middle ground of that? Because I mean, you got those like, Dave Chappelle back in the day, when he did, certain shows and stand up, it was super funny and provocative, and people thought it was funny, and people came together from all diverse backgrounds. But now, I don't know, people are very just picky about a lot of things, and I don't know.
I think picky is the best word. And here's why. I don't think, I've heard a lot of comedians, older comedians primarily,
Mhm.
you just can't say anything anymore. No, you can say whatever you want,
Right.
but there are ramifications for it. Now, do I feel personally sometimes some people are oversensitive about some things? Yes, I absolutely do. But I also know some people are right within some of their sensitivities.
Mhm.
And I got to make sure I say some. As a comic, you for number one, I always say this. Number one, as a comedian, you will never on this planet and never have, nor never will find a comedian that every single person loves. It will never happen.
It's true.
It will never happen. There is always going to be something someone is going to say that's going to piss somebody off. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
But now you do have some people who do go to shows looking to be offended. But then
Mm,
on the other side, you do have some comedians who are deliberately trying to offend people.
mm,
And so that's where you get the extreme on both ends.
mhm.
Comedy has been meant to always poke fun of stereotypes, make light of different things. It has done it for years. It
Right.
is also, yes, it is an evolution. It has always evolved. And,
Mhm.
I understand that. And I also will say is just because someone upset you or made you feel offended doesn't mean they did that for the next person.
Mhm.
And just because somebody made you laugh and felt comfortable and embraced doesn't mean they'll do that for the next person either.
It's true.
So when people sit there and say now that, like a lot of people be like, comedy's under attack, it's not. It never has been. It's
Mhm.
just a buzz thing. It's a
Okay.
buzzword.
Gotcha.
Comedy is never under attack. What's under attack is people not being able to go to shows. Like,
Mm.
look, corporations are out of control, blah, blah, blah. I can have that whole financial discussion, financial literacy discussion, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, comedy has never been under attack. People want to make it seem like it's under attack. And then you have these comedians who don't have anything else going for them. So they
Right.
can use this guy's, comedy's under attack. I can't say anything. No, it's just you didn't evolve and adapt.
Gotcha.
All the greats, every single great that people will consistently name when people go to the Lenny Bruces, the George Carlins, the Richard Pryors, the Eddie Murphys, the Dave Chappelles, Bill Burrs, everybody they name will have at one point in time adapted.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it was no different from them to you being the older comedian now. As like, man, I remember I used to be able to go and say all these things. Yeah, just like all these other comedians used to be able to go and say all these things. And then
Right.
they adapted to their audiences and they still have lucrative careers. You look at somebody who could be considered offensive like Bill Burr in many
Yeah.
instances, people, but Bill Burr's career has gone from just being the comedian. He's in so many TV shows. He's in the Star Wars universe. You've elevated, right?
Right.
You have a Dave Chappelle who, for many people, he's like, he just wants to do this. Dave is one of the people that's like, you want to be mad, I'm gonna make you mad.
Right.
And because of that, he even said, I never forget, because Dave's an actual friend of mine. And
Nice.
I don't speak lightly on this just because he's a friend, but it's in his Sticks and Stones special. He said,
Yeah.
remember, you clicked on my face.
That's true.
He says that you clicked on my face. So why you knew you more than likely were gonna get upset.
Right. Right.
Richard Pryor changed who he was. He was a clean comedian at first. Then he changed. Carlin changed who he was. Lenny Bruce changed to an extent. And it was like, well, I'm just going to be this. You got some people trying to be Lenny Bruce. And it's like, you're not Lenny Bruce.
Right.
Also, you're not Pryor. You're not Carlin. You're not Patrice. I hate when people, look, there's nothing wrong with us bringing up the legends. I just did it. But I also think a lot of comedians need to understand we're not them.
Absolutely.
We're
Right.
not them.
And you're making your own legacy.
Yes. And that's the thing. While we're worried about what other people could and could not say, you need to be worried about what you should or should not say, or
Right.
can and cannot say, and how is that going to elevate or affect your career.
Mhm. I love that. I love it. You just schooled me on some stuff I didn't know. I love that. Thank you.
Oh, no worries.
Um, so tell me about like your process. Now I can only imagine. I got the privilege, and thank you for having us to come to your show to see you
Mm,
perform, which we had a blast.
go
And
ahead.
the line of people that were there, that was so great. Um, do you ever get like nervous before you go on stage? And like because you've done so many shows, what's your ritual like?
So I'm nervous before every single show, quiet as kept, because every crowd is different.
Yeah,
No two crowds are the same. You can have your fan base, but there may be somebody who doesn't know you in that crowd for once.
that's true.
I'm always a little bit like, all right, I just need to make sure I'm delivering what I want to deliver, how I deliver it. Want to deliver how I want to deliver it, make sure I'm doing the way I want to do it,
Right.
but also making sure I'm just on point and connecting. And also I'm fluid enough and loose enough to be able to say, well, I was gonna go with these certain jokes. Now I'm telling these certain jokes and I'm paying attention to the crowd and they're not really connecting. So we
Mm,
gotta pivot
I
with
see.
no problem. And so I have to remind myself to be able to do that, to pivot easily, to
Mm,
say, all right, let's deviate from the script. Let's go here.
I love that.
Because a lot of people you'll see they're stuck to the script
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, if it doesn't go with this, I don't know what to do.
Mm,
And for some people, that's their process. For me, I have to be able to. It's part of my wrestling background because
nice.
as a wrestler, to pull the curtain back, we all know it's choreographed, so we plan the matches. But
Right.
there are moments where, when you have the heel who's the bad guy and the babyface who's the good guy, the crowd is reacting differently. The crowd isn't cheering for the babyface; they're booing the babyface and
Right.
they're cheering the heel. So now you have to adjust the match to adjust the crowd's reaction.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
can't keep the match the same way because now you're going to take the crowd out of it.
Right. Right.
So this I apply that philosophy to stand up where, all right, I'm doing this joke. Okay, if they don't ride with me on this one, they won't do this one. So I need to be able to switch gears.
I love that.
I need to see where I need to pay attention and see where they want me to go. And it does become a kind of a tricky situation, not just for myself, for many comedians now, because crowd work clips have been such a big thing
Mm,
where now you're getting crowds who are coming to comedy shows and all they're expecting is the comedian to be on stage talking directly to you.
mm,
And it's like, I don't want to have to talk to you if I don't want to. I
right.
got these jokes I've been writing and working on.
Right.
So, like, ritual for when it comes to get for the show also is, all right, what am I gonna do? It's funny. Every time before every show before I go up, I am literally on my phone, but I'm on my phone playing a game.
I love
And
it.
and so everybody's like, wait, what are you doing? I was like, I'm figuring out what I'm gonna do. And they're like, huh? And they're like, but you playing this game. I was like, I know. It allows me to have my brain focus.
Mm.
And so I'm doing that. And then literally everybody knows me that I do this. And they all say it's the weirdest thing I do. Right before I go on stage, I always say, well, let me go up here and bomb real quick. And they'll be like, what? Like, and I've recently begun to embrace it because now a lot of people respect who I am and what I do, and they're like, "You're not finna bomb. What are you talking about?" But they don't get is it's a psychological thing for me
Mm,
because if I say, "Let me go up here and bomb real quick," there is nothing for me to lose.
I gotcha. I see. Makes a
The
lot of
weight
sense.
of everything is off my shoulders.
Right. Right.
I can go and just be who I need. I can just be free on stage.
I love that.
Because I think I'm a bomb anyway, so what does it matter? Let me just tell us how I'm gonna tell and do what I do. And
Right.
once I unblock that, I'm free to be more just loose on stage and just have fun, and I give a better performance.
That's amazing. That's incredible. Tell me one of your greatest moments, like doing a set somewhere. What was that like, and where were you?
I always say this has become one of the most legendary moments in my career for me. I was back home in Chicago and I was performing at the Laugh Factory there, and I just got done off stage. I think I was in like because I just went in town for a minute, so I was like in the middle of the show, and so they put me on middle of the show, and went up, and after the show, I go out. I got done with my set. I go out to the bar. I just always like to go out there to get some air, clear my head, kind of quick little decompression.
Yeah.
So I'm hanging out there, and I think it was like one or two more comics after me, whatever. Then after the show, an older black woman came up to me, and she said, I did not want to come out this house. She was like, this is the first time I've been out. My son was murdered 2.5 weeks ago.
Oh my
My
God.
sisters dragged me out. You are the first person that has made me laugh in over 2.5 weeks. And I remember because her son died August 25th. August 25th is my birthday.
Oh my gosh.
So her telling me
I have chills. Woof.
that I was the one thing she heard the whole show. Nobody else had made her laugh until
Wow.
it got to me.
Wow.
And I don't say it to knock anyone else that was on the show, but for me, that was the moment that cemented that no matter how I might feel, know how many
Mhm.
times I go through imposter syndrome or I doubt myself, et cetera, this is what I'm meant to do.
Mhm. Wow.
This is what I'm meant to do. And for her to tell me, like, that resonates with me still to this day. Because
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, there are times where I'm like, the world will tell me that, yo, you're hilarious. And I say that because I'm getting comments on social media from all these different people like yourself, people I just recently meet, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, why is it if I'm this, can't this machine see this to elevate
Mhm.
me further to where I don't have to, I can just show it on this grand stage. And so from those times I get like in my own head, I'm like, well, what's the point of me doing this? Blah, 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 blah. I'm feeling terrible. But whenever I have those moments, that moment in Chicago always comes back.
Oh my gosh, wow. That's beautiful. I mean, that's what we do it for, right? To hopefully to touch someone, like to make that's what we do what we do. Like,
I've
yeah.
always said this. I've always said this. If from the 5, 10, 15, however long I'm on stage,
Yeah,
if for that time I'm on stage, I can personally make you forget about any of your worries and problems, I've done my job.
right. Absolutely.
I've done my job. I'm gonna make somebody laugh. That's a given.
Yeah.
That's a God-given talent I have that it's a given I'm gonna do. I know it. But the biggest thing is if I can make you forget about your worries, if I have long I'm on stage, then I've done what I meant to do.
That's that's beautiful. Wow. I love that. I really love that. You know, it's so interesting when I look back and I can totally understand what you mean. Like when I look back in at my career and I when I really think about how I started to where I am now, I'm like so grateful, right? It puts things into perspective. Like when I look at you, I'm like, whoa, yeah. I mean, I look at you, I'm like, wow, you've accomplished so much. But like I think it's like you know, like deep down, it's like you said, you want the machine to see what you've done to do the elevating. But I feel like those like I don't know. To other people, people say, "Oh, you've done this. You were in this magazine. You did this movie." Da da da. And it's still you still feel like, "Well, I still haven't done enough."
Listen, you
So
preach to the
wild.
choir. You are preaching to the choir. Look, I've had people who say, yo, you on all these stages. I see you on TV, you
Yeah.
in these movies and TV shows, and you doing this, you on the internet, you doing all this, you doing great. And I'm like, bro, I barely paid rent this month. What are we talking about?
Right.
What
Right.
are we talking about?
Right.
And and it's not just to say for those listening, say that you want to do something just for the financial gain behind it. But I'd like to quote a great line from a great movie. If you're good at something, never do it for free.
Right.
Shouts out to Heath Ledger. But it's always, it's what you're capable of. And so when people see, you have to look back. And I do sometimes have to look back and be like, damn, I've done a lot.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes it just doesn't feel like it because for me, I always say I'm running with blinders.
Same. Yep. Yes,
I'm
completely.
running with blinders. So
Yeah.
I don't see around me. I don't see how it's look, it just recently, I always say this, it was only till recently I had to accept this Jay Washington thing because I didn't know it came with a level of respect from my peers
Oh my
and
God.
even younger comics. And I just was like, I'm just another dude, another comedian working.
Yeah.
And so because I'm so busy, just stay focused, go forward, and also the fear of losing humility, to be honest.
Okay.
A lot of people never talk about that. I have a fear of losing humility. Like I always say this, I will drop all humility if you piss me off. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
If I gotta be that dude, okay, I'll be him.
You
I'll be him.
right.
But I've always wanted to be humble because I want to stay humble and grateful and thankful. And I've had friends of mine who was like, yo, you gotta stop being so humble and just be like, yo, let them know this is who you are and what you're doing. I'm like, okay, I guess. So
No, and you're listen, you're doing amazing. And I think it's all I think it feels that way because we're in it, you know.
yes.
We're not on the outside looking in and like I it's so funny. I did this magazine. I looked at some stuff that I did like magazine cover stuff that I've always wanted to be a part of, like a Fangoria magazine. I was in a write up in there. I was like, and it's so cool to see that, but I'm thinking
Yeah.
like I see that, but I don't know if a lot of people see that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
and so I don't know. It's one of those things like I know what I'm doing, but like I just feel like it I don't know. I don't know if it ever feel like when you get there, when you are elevated, will it actually ever feel like you are like fully complete? I don't think that actually
I don't think there's ever a complete. There's not there's not an ultimate and total satisfaction.
right.
There is always this urge and desire to want a little bit more,
Hmm.
to do more. But I think that urge and desire, that hunger, is what allows you to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. What advice would you give for up and coming comics? People that want to do it.
My advice is grind like bad breaks. Also, listen to those who are willing to give you legit advice who've been there already.
Mm,
A lot of us coming up in in my group, in my class, we didn't get all the advice. We were just we were kind of thrown to the wolves like, yo, this is how you got to do it, and I do it. But like now I'm able to be like, yo, these are things you don't want to do.
right.
I know it might seem like something easy or it seemed like quick gratification. You don't need to get into that. This is something you need to stay away from. Don't allow people to use you in this regard. Don't do
Mm,
these things. Do these things. Be this way. I'm not trying to be how to be a comic, but like be weary of these things. Listen to those around you who are willing to give you good advice, legit advice, not those who are just trying to give you advice to take advantage of you or things like that. Also, write and live life.
mhm.
Live life, because you can't write about your life if you're not living it.
Amen. That's so true.
Can't
So
write about life if you're not. If all look, I had to tell myself that because for a while all I was doing was just shows, and then I was like, I need to write, but I was like, oh, I haven't done anything.
right. Right.
And I can
Absolutely.
start pulling from my past, but I'm like, I like to be able to talk recent sometimes.
Hmm. Absolutely. I love that. It's great. It's great advice. I have a fun question, and there's no wrong answer, but the three levels of influence: money, power, and respect. And if you could choose only one of those things, which one would you choose and why?
Respect.
I like that.
Respect opens the door to so much more. Money comes and goes. Power corrupts. Respect will give you all what you want and then some. Because when people respect you, they see who you are, not what you are, they see who you are. And respect will be carried so much further. Respect allows you to be walked into rooms and go into doors you never thought you'd be able to step into, or step through. Respect allows you to look in the mirror without shame.
I love that. Love that.
A lot of people can't look in the mirror at their reflection and look into their own eyes. I had to learn that because I used to have that hard thing that was imposter syndrome that thankfully through my therapist I learned how to do
Yeah.
because I could look at myself, but I couldn't look at myself.
Mm,
I could see the whole thing, but I couldn't look myself in the eye.
yeah.
And respect will allow you to be able to do that.
Love that. Yeah.
Like not feared, legitimate respect.
Yeah. That's real. That's a great answer. It's so true. You want to make yeah. It's like what's the point of having everything in you and you can't live with the decisions that you made to get there. So
Look, if you got money, you got a bunch of money, but don't nobody respect you. Now you like, oh, it's fine, but deep down inside you feel miserable.
right.
You got power, but don't nobody respect you. Now you're looking over your back, seeing that somebody trying to take that power from you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But if you got respect, you can build up to all three of those things at the same time.
Mm, I love it. I love it. These gems, Jay. Love it. um, where can people follow you on social media?
Social media, I'm pretty relatively easy across the board. Mr. J Washington, MRJAY. You should know how to spell Washington. I always say that. That's because I made it. The other J Washington is a Filipino basketball player, and that's not me. So Mr. J Washington is it. I always tell people like whenever I'm at a show, somebody's like, "How can I find you on the gram?" I'm like MRJAY, and I'll be the first one to pop up. And so, fortunately, but that's the biggest thing with social media.
Love it. And would you have anything really quick, any shows coming up that you like to announce?
Show wise, I mean, I'm gonna be in Louisiana on the 17th of October.
All
I'm in
right.
St. Louis in November from the 14th through the 17th. But the biggest thing for me is to go check out my special Big Black and Nerdy on YouTube. It is on my
Woohoo.
YouTube channel, Big Black and Nerdy. It's my own self-produced, independently produced special. Decided to go out on a limb, shoot it and drop it and see what happens.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.